Hey, Adam, are you there?
How about now? Does that sound a little
Oh,
smoother?
sounds a ton better, man.
I was playing around with settings, dude. I don't even know, man. But I think we should be a little better. So
Yeah,
can we,
it's all good, man.
third time's a charm.
I live
I was
on
trying to,
the
you know what? I'll just do it
yeah.
this way because I was trying to hook up these beats. But anyway,
Okay, look,
where
do you
did
want
we
to go?
leave off at? It was, are you gonna start from the top or?
Let's just start from the top, man, because I think it was kicking in and out as we were talking.
Yeah,
So yeah, let's just start
yeah.
from the top, man.
Yeah. So for everyone tuning in, my name is Adam Kimmell. I've been investigating the paranormal for 10 years. Long story short, back in 2003 to 2008, I was in college studying political science, counterterrorism, international security. No prior ghost stuff was ever going on. Like some people have stories about how they've been haunted as a child and things like that.
Right.
I was not one of those people, the fortunate ones, like out in Slip Rock, Pennsylvania out there, had some weird stuff going on that actually had me kind of wondering about stuff. Eventually, where it got to the point where I took a recorder with me out to a cemetery by myself, 3 a.m. out there. They was called, what they call it, the witching hour or whatever.
Right.
And I asked 3 very basic questions. I don't remember what the first 2 were, but the third one was, if there's anything you'd like me to tell your family, what would that be? And when I got back, this girl I was dating at the time, I just handed the recorder to her and I was like, hey, I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'll come back and listen to this. Well, she listened to it while I was in the bathroom. When I came out, she was like under the sheets crying. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Little extra here, little extra. What's wrong? And she said, I thought you were out there alone. And I'm like, I was. When we played it back,
Right.
The last question I'd asked was, if there's anything you'd like me to tell your family, what would that be? And a very graspy voice came over the recording, and it said, help. And dude, I sat on that for like a good week, like thinking about that.
Right.
Because I've always been like the nerdy type, science type. And I'm like, dude, that shouldn't be on there. Like, I used to think the TV shows were fake. And I get it. When we look at industry stuff, I get it. Sometimes they blow stuff out of proportion. But the thing about it is, a lot of the phenomena based on this that they do catch, that we even see on national shows and stuff, all these private teams getting it, like, it's real. And that's what blew my mind. Like, this stuff, maybe it's real.
Right.
And this was back in 2010 when I finally got that EVP. Now in college, though, in 2008, that's what actually, okay, when 2010 EVP happened, I'm like full blown into the paranormal now. Like, I'm gonna go and pursue this. In college, though, I wanted to study it. I had stuff happen at the house, some weird stuff I was filming, dropped out of college from that. And I'm like, so for 2 years, taught myself filmmaking, just because I'm like, dude, no one knows what they want to do in life, right? No one ever knows. And I didn't want to go to DC for politics.
Right.
So it's not a bad career choice. For any children listening, your parents will hate me if I say drop out of college and ghost hunt. Eventually it turned into, eventually buying the Madison Seminary out in Madison, Ohio.
Okay.
And also eventually in 2020 buying the Fairfield County Infirmary out in Lancaster, Ohio.
Okay.
And it's been a great adventure.
Right.
And then you got the filming. I do my own show called Resident Undead. It's been going on for about 10 years.
Okay.
I know that when you look at the dates, it says 2013. I assure you, 2010 I was doing. I definitely took down 3 years worth of videos.
Right.
I was so embarrassed myself. I was so nervous. Yeah. But yeah, that's a little highlight.
And also, you're the co-owner of Indiana State Sanitorium, correct?
A business part. I have a partnership out there. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha. So when did you get into that?
We opened. Well, we were doing some location scouting for for one of the TV shows, Destination Fear.
Oh,
We
okay.
were sent out there to like kind of talk to the owner, just make first contact, right?
Right.
So when I got out there, we met Greg. Greg Art Larson, and awesome guy, awesome dude. I love him. And
Right.
at first he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with the place, and we started talking about what was going to happen, like if this show came out. And then I told him, well, I own 2 properties out in Ohio, and it'd be really great to save this place and use it for paranormal tourism. And
Right.
that was new to him because he was big into LARPing and music.
Oh,
And
okay.
it kind of worked out because so it kind of worked out in a great way, because now the buildings are being saved. We have a massive amount of revenue coming in. Huge
Awesome.
restoration project is underway. Like I was actually just at ISS too, because Billy Creek Village is right next to it. That one's just been purchased.
Okay.
ISS is like 2 miles down the road. I had to go pick up some clothes. We started the project back in last February.
Okay.
Wow, dude, that place is coming along.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people already been there. So
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, because I've heard about it, but
Right.
I've never had a chance to been there to get there yet, and I'm dying to go.
Dude, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of people have been telling me about it, and
It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's just because we can get into deep theory. Like, is it because it? But it's like, yeah, it's wild, dude.
right. Okay, so like when you first like started, Madison was the first one you purchased, correct?
Correct. I had the Randolph County Infirmary. That all fell through. I had a deal out there. The partner, the current guy that's left behind with our business transactions, he basically used me to convince the commissioners to sell it. This was back in 2014-ish.
Right.
And what happened was we had formed an LLC. And he goes, well, we'll form this LLC, all this stuff, but you're really good at talking to these people. And I studied politics. Like,
Right.
one of the things is like coaching in class how to speak,
Right.
and things like that. So, in the very beginning, all the newspaper articles show it. I had convinced the Randolph County commissioners to sell this icon, this beautiful icon.
Right.
Well, anyway, the LLC was made. And when the bid came down, because now that it was up for bid from the county, anyone could bid.
Oh, okay.
But we had to put a bid in. It was supposed to be under the LLC. Dan was in this. It's still an active LLC. So,
Okay.
But anyway, the bid goes in and puts his own name down, right?
Right.
So his own name is down in the bid, not the LLC that I'm a part of, because he was going to use the vast army of people I had in the paranormal. He knew nothing about the paranormal, and to this day really doesn't care about the paranormal. It's more about like he's in it for the money, the wrong reasons.
Right.
But well, anyway, since the deed went by of being used to save it. Now I love that building, I really did. But then when I was telling him, like, things weren't getting paid, people were getting used. We had maintenance things that were getting taken care of.
Right.
I eventually just walked away, and I'm like, you know what? If it's about the money for you, then you can have it. You can have it.
Right.
And that's actually what set my eyes on Madison Seminary, because sometimes you can't you got to captain the ship by yourself. There's a lot of greed out there.
Yeah.
And I can get into a ton of arguments. I just had, if you watch the Ghost Hunters episode, you got Mustafa out here saying that it's all about the money out there at Madison. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's, you can interview a lot of property owners and say that if you saw the amount of money that it takes to save the location, keep it running.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can validate Madison. When you go there, we keep putting stuff in there, new furniture, renovating. I got a new roof I'm putting up on Fairfield. Trust me, it's not a game where you become a millionaire, as they like to think. So, but to some people, there are some bad owners out there. As I referenced, Dan, people that just take money
Right.
and room to the left, they'll have the ceiling. That's never been fixed in I don't know how long I've left. I left back in 2016, I think.
Okay.
That's still there. It's a wreck, there's but anyway, I saved that one first. Long story short, then that's what got me into the mission. I kind of understood how to run it because, when you investigate, you get an idea of I think investigators understand more on how to save a historical property through the paranormal.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, then it led to Fairfield. Fairfield fell on my lap because I tried to buy it in 2018 and I lost to Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
Now, Habitat for Humanity would end up failing after 2 years, not fulfilling their goals, tanking, and the land bank that I'd gone to, all that, it was about to revert to that. And they were like, you have to give it to someone that's going to save it historically. Well, you got this guy, Adam Kimmell, who's literally been asking us for now, since 2018, constantly, I would have loved to buy this. They ended up having to approach me and then selling it to me with one stipulation. You can't dig because the bodies are everywhere.
Oh, okay. No, I did not hear that one.
Ah,
Interesting.
ah. So have you had a chance to get out to Fairfield?
Not yet. This past year, I have been really busy.
It's wild. I get it.
And I've been hoping to get out there really here soon. Since the weather's better, the pandemic kind of went.
Oh God.
Kind of went away.
Yeah.
Now everybody's back to normal. Let's just say,
Back to the boom season. It's interesting. Right. Fairfield's haunting is interesting. You have over 1,500 some unmarked graves in the backyard. And this is what the building department, all of them were saying,
wow.
The bigwigs that knew what was going on. Yeah. That's why a realtor wanted to grab it before me, and they had to tell the realtor no, because when they did the ground penetrating radar, there's just dots everywhere in the back. I think even around the front side of the building, near the White House as well, that's on the property. Okay. So they were telling me you have to excavate all those bodies, properly move them. It was a mess for them that they didn't want to break ground. So, but to me, I didn't want to do any of that. I want to keep it historically the way it is. Right. So it worked out perfect.
You said there's 1,500?
But yeah.
Wow. No.
Yeah. An estimate from what's that?
Was it are the bodies from like a town cemetery, or is it just what is it all from?
Well, at the turn of the century, turn of the century, beginning, it was ran as an infirmary, a poor farm,
okay,
kind of set up people that are just transients. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
If you didn't have anywhere, to stay, or you didn't have any family, and you died.
Oh, okay. I'm with you.
And on top of that, you have a stream that actually runs through the building. It comes from the mountain up behind it, down through a ravine, goes underneath the side road to get up there, and then through the morgue, somehow goes through the middle of the building, but underground, and then seems to dissipate somewhere by the college across the street. So from a paranormal aspect, you have an active energy source just constantly running through the building, because, water is an energy source like that. So that's also another interesting piece.
Okay. Now, ever since you've been there, it's what kind of paranormal claims has been a part of everything? There's a certain pattern or something everybody witnesses, or Do they think, you know?
Not really a pattern. Look, a lot of parents have been seeing like at least smaller figures. And when people say children, I think it's because the black shadow they see is smaller. We have had people say they've actually physically seen what looks like a translucent child. A lot of shadow play upstairs in the dungeon. There's a dungeon on the 4th floor. That's
Okay.
where they used to chain people up at the turn of the century that violated the list of rules, which, you know, that list goes on. There were rules you couldn't violate. They separated the sexes, but they also had a lot of the mentally ill patients up there.
Right.
At one time, it was an orphanage. Mixed layers of things, but there's a lot of shadow play up there, and I've seen that a lot with my own eyes, you know, up there. Even sometimes with groups, or sometimes when I'm just working on the building, if I shut the lights off and I'm just screwing around for a little bit,
Right.
it's very eerie. And I think my theory for that is like, you know, I think in death, ghosts, they retain their human emotion. They're how do I put this together? Like, they retain their human emotion, their aspects, their like if a ghost had, if someone died with and they didn't have legs, let's say, and a lot of psychics can validate this, that even in death, they still think they have broken legs and they have to use crutches to get around. They don't realize that they're free bound, right? They're no longer bound to this physical, body.
Right.
And even if the mentally ill patients, like if you were to go into an asylum and say it exists today, we couldn't have a normal conversation like we're having right now.
Right.
It would be a little more sporadic. And there would be a lot of surprise, you know, like constant, every time someone came, they'd want to see who's there, who's there. Right. And I think that's why it happens upstairs. You may have some of those patients are mentally ill. They knew nowhere else to go, even though their body's buried out back. That upstairs dungeon was their home. And even now in death, they still have that curiosity, the head's bobbing and looking as you're looking down the hallway. I think that's why it's more active on shadow play than anywhere else in the building.
Oh, okay.
Right. As far as like, you know, your other claims, a lot of generic, I think hauntings, when I say hauntings are generic, I think it's the way we're studying it.
Okay.
That we're always going to have the whispers, the disembodied voice, the shadows, you know how it is.
Yeah.
We have that recipe as well. I'm trying to think of anything that stands out.
Right.
The uncomfortable thing, we're talking about the Fairfield County Infirmary. I think I got that one on. Yeah, my hoodie. Fairfield County Infirmary on Lancaster, Ohio. There is a White House that also exists on the property. It used to be used by superintendents a little while back. It was, I think, built in the 20s, according to the schematics. But in the 70s, a superintendent shot himself in the head, ironically, in the room that I produced Resident Undead in when I'm at Lancaster. Okay. And I didn't know that was the room. And it is interesting with that spirit. I've had a lot of teams come in, and I don't feed a lot on the haunting. I really, you know, if a team asks me what I had happen, I'll tell them, but I don't want to really front load. Right. And a lot of the teams that haven't been front loaded with stuff said, they feel like there is a male oppression there, right? Okay. And a male force. It's one specific male, they think. And I was starting to come to this theory that maybe it is possible that superintendent in the 70s, Norris, that shot himself in the head, is still traveling back and forth between the house and the infirmary, which are only separated by about 150 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I sleep in times in the White House when I'm there, and I've heard, if you ask me, the White House has just as much activity as the infirmary. There's something going on in the White House. I've heard the phantom footsteps, what sounds like doors upstairs closing, and I'm like, you know, that's intriguing to me too. That I think they're connected though, but I think that entity can travel back and forth between the two. And again, it's only 150 feet, so yeah.
Wow. I never heard of a claim like that where the traveling back and forth. So that's really interesting to me. That's pretty cool.
It's something, you know, getting into that. And again, we'll get for everyone listening, we're into deep. Let's get into deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
But let's get into deep stuff.
Hey, why not?
There's this one. There may be other names. Why not, right?
Yeah. What the hell?
There's probably theories to it. I call it taxi cab theory. It's something I put together because when I was starting to get into the paranormal, I was like an isolationist. I read a little bit of stuff, but
Right.
I guess I'm so backwoods that when something would happen, I would try to like identify it myself. And my friends and I would use the terms. Taxi cab theory was that how do you help these spirits move from location to location, right? When you hear about like one spirit's haunting a place, then maybe it came from somewhere else. Well, how does that explain it? Was a taxi cab theory that we are the vessels they use to travel,
Right.
clear, i.e. attached. You know, we all know about that, but like they can latch onto somebody, use us to get from one place. Like, you know, let's say you go to Madison and then you go to Madison and a spirit could attach to you. It doesn't know where it's going to go. It's going to follow you for a little bit. Maybe it knows how to get back to Madison because that's where it came from, but you're showing it how to get somewhere else. Then you go to the Stanley Hotel and it's almost like a video game, like a new checkpoint's been open. Like, oh,
Right.
Dude, look at this. This is the Stanley Hotel. There's more ghosts here. But it's not, maybe it wasn't even from Madison to begin with. It came from another place. But
Right.
ghost hunters are moving these things around.
Right.
Because I don't think someone dies and all of a sudden it's like, you're dead, but you can go anywhere in the world and you can see everything all at once. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there has to be a way on that other side to navigate. And that's just today's thought. My theories change constantly, but as of right now,
Right.
I feel like that seems most logical, but it could change tomorrow.
Right. Now I've heard of the taxi cab theory before, and I want to say,
but
when I was listening to Coast to Coast AM one night, where George Knapp was talking about where he was at the Skinwalker Ranch. And he came home. I guess him and his wife saw these, like, I hate the word orb. And I guess that's how the only way he could explain it, let's just say. And where he said, I mean, it was visible, but visible to his eyes, not on photos, but visible to their eyes. Where, like they said, like these blue dots or whatever was like circling around the house, circling around them. And I was like, I guess he said like maybe a few days later they disappeared, but he said it was just right after he got home from the Skinwalker Ranch after kind of like doing some sort of like documentary out there. I believe when he wrote his book.
Right. I think that can correlate, right? Like it knows how to follow, like it follows. But that was the thing, like, because I do believe people they can have attachments. Like I remember this used to happen to me in the beginning a lot. When I first started investigating back in 2010, 2011, where I would come back from an investigation and eerie stuff would happen when I got home. Something would knock over. I think I had cats at the time. I had one cat back in 2011. I remember coming back for an investigation. I'm leaning back on my chair. My cat's on my lap. This is the nicest cat. Name's Olive. She's still alive.
I got a male named Oliver.
Nicest cat. But she's yeah. And she's sitting on my lap, and all of a sudden she looks past my head, like she's looking at me. She looks over my head, like something on my lap, and I turn around, like I know I'm at the house alone, but I'm like freaked out, looking behind, like, what did you see that sparked you? And that was right after I came back, like, but now when I come home, like came back from Billy Creek, came back from ISS, I don't feel anything at any of those times come back with me. Like, they're definitely haunted places, stuff's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if something's changed, that either these spirits communicate with one another and they're like, oh, hey, follow this guy. Oh, follow his friends. They all do this thing where they'll come to our places, definitely communicate to other places, so we can maybe tell other ghosts what are going on, or we can meet other ghosts, because maybe we don't know how that plane of existence works. Maybe they have to be connected that way somehow. And I mean, it could get deeper. It's like, well, then, you know, I don't take any religious stance on this, but then it sounds like from a Catholic point of view, that's purgatory, right? These spirits are stuck in purgatory,
right?
And they're just waiting, right? Because it's wondering, like, what is going on?
Right.
Or is there a time when a spirit can move on when they want to? Like, maybe you hear this thing, they have unfinished business, right?
Right.
Maybe it's not that corny from the 80s of a saying, but maybe they just want to stay behind to watch their loved ones while they're still alive.
Right.
Or they want to stay behind because they want to watch a family be born. And look how humanity's messed up over gold, right? We want gold. We're materialistic things we grab, but to some people's homes, that's their kingdom.
Right.
And even in death, they do not want to give that throne up.
Right.
You know, there could be a lot of things, but then eventually it's like, why do we not have hauntings of Egyptians, right? Well, that for that many years, you're just like, I'm passing on. The world no longer, I don't recognize the world any longer, and I'm just gone. I'm moving on to the next beyond. May it be reincarnation, maybe it be just a higher evolution of something that we're not aware of yet.
Right.
It's a lot of mysteries to it, but you kind of get where I'm going.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, like, you bringing up the Egyptians, that's interesting in itself. I mean, only because, I mean, if you think about it, we had the we had all the curses of King Tut and all that.
Well, right.
You know,
and it makes you wonder. Maybe if we had access to the pyramid, if we had access, maybe we would catch something, right? We don't know. We don't really have access to the paranormal aspect to it. Maybe it's not something physical in this world, but there is some strong energy that is protecting that, because we know that these things have the ability to hurt us. They can physically scratch us. We've heard of possession cases. What if you've stuck around for so long that you've learned the game really well? And come on, if you were what Egyptians would be like 7,000 years back, is like, wasn't it like 7,000 AD or something, or 5,000 AD?
About that, yeah.
Or BC or whatever. It's like 7,000 years back.
Right.
If you were an energy that could stick around that long, man, maybe you know stuff. Maybe you really can cause a curse.
Right.
Who knows, man? That's wild.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's like even
but
I mean, it's interesting for sure. I mean, most definitely.
I mean, some of the things it's I will say this is funny, you know, with the show we do, Resident Undead. You know, the reason I wanted to do this, I've always been obsessed with creating order to chaos, right? When you're filming an investigation, it's extremely chaotic, right?
Yeah.
But I was always obsessed with trying to capture that you know how investigation is just chaos, man. People going in all these directions. And I was still obsessed with trying to film the story. The whole thing of Resident Undead is to like film a story of my friends and I, you know, going on our own journey. And this is what I love about Journey book. And when teams come to these locations, you know, I love some teams, they haven't understood the mindset yet. Your investigation doesn't mean shit on the bigger scale.
Right.
Right. You get these teams. we were the first investigation of this location. And I think sometimes they want to just write the narrative. Like if you're the first one to get there, you get to write the narrative, and all these other teams go, and they're like, well, so-and-so said this was here, so I don't have to think for myself. I can just look for that.
Right.
What they need to understand is a lot of these locations have many layers of a haunting. Multiple things are going to happen.
Right.
Your team goes and investigates one night, and you have amazing communication. Right. And you're talking with a spirit named Mary and a guy named, but then the next night, another team goes and they're like, well, we didn't get a message. We, in the paranormal, we can't make things duplicate very often.
Right.
Like sometimes you can get them to knock twice within a sequence, but like, Mary and Bill that you communicated with may not come out night 2. That doesn't mean they're not there. Right. It means that your chapter of that night documented what's going on, but it's a giant book. Every location is a book, and maybe not even a chapter, but it's a page. Right. The same evidence you got. It starts correlating and building. And, the only way I think to successfully navigate paranormal research is definitely document what you get. All right. Right. Definitely document what you get, because other teams, that's another thing I love. I put it all on the internet. It's unbiased. I'm not telling you or throw it to the side and be like, I'm just going to watch this so I know what the building looks like. Do what you want with it. Right. But also another thing I would like to tell investigators is don't get so hung up on the history. I had Mustafa, whatever, from Ghost Hunters again. Not only was he saying those in it for the money, but he was, I'm this historian for A&E's Ghost Hunter. Yeah. He was, he's an IMDb actor that got picked up by Pilgrim Studios. You're literally a historian because that's the only spot they had open. And I hope you see that, Mustafa, he made in his analysis that the history is so important that when you go into a location, you need to follow your history to a T, because that's going to lead your investigation. Okay, how much of that history was documented, right? If someone's supposed to write history of your life, I mean, you know your history the best, but like, hey, I'm writing history on Bud Kelly. I'm only probably going to get a fraction of it right. But then does that mean that fraction leads an investigation to talk to Bud Kelly? Right. Or if a chair is thrown at a location, what does it have to do with the history? That could have nothing to do with the history. Right. Poltergeist activity. Well, that must be the mean superintendent that lives here. No, you're misdiagnosing it because you think it's going with history. There's so much more to a location. Think of what happens in daily nursing homes today, right? Right. There could be malpractice, things like that. But if you hear one single narrative and you're like, oh my God, this nursing home was the best ever, that's documented, right? Right. But then all of a sudden, this haunted nursing home has wheelchairs moving on their own, beds being moved, items being thrown, and someone's like, oh my God, it's a demon. Right. No, maybe it's because the malpractice is a residual energy and you're seeing angry documented, right? But I'm getting at haunting that we understand.
Yeah. I mean, like back what you just was talking about, it's like, which, I mean, I love history. I love the history of locations, but like you just said, I mean, sometimes both things don't go hand in hand, I mean,
yes,
they really don't. And it's almost like most locations that I know, it's like, sometimes you got actual facts of the history, but then you got a lot of folklore as well. And it's like a lot of people will like just focus on the folklore and just focus on that. I mean, just because somebody said it a long time ago doesn't make it actual history, and stuff. But as it's kind of, so I think I know exactly what you're getting at.
Right.
So.
Right.
I mean, because
it may be an unpopular opinion.
Right.
But the goal is, I think we have a paranormal community in distress. There's just a lot of conflict and thought. It's the only field of research where people are like wanting to strangle each other over, I believe this and this has to be here. I would really just, I think at the end of the day, my goal is to unite people and just get you interested. I feel like the Elon Musk of the paranormal, like I agree with him.
I like that. I really do.
We need to get off this planet as far as like we need multiple planets that we can inhabit. We need space stations. We need a moon station. We need all this because if something happens on Earth, we're done. We're done, right? Yeah, and I think with the paranormal, I really think this is important. I think no one's gonna really care about it until they're on their deathbed and they're thinking, my entire maybe right. Those thoughts are gonna cross our mind. I think this research is very important. What happens next?
Right.
Is it a continual line of reincarnation?
Right.
And is it just meaningless? It's just we happen to be out of all the universes created and all the galaxies in this part of the gigantic whatever you call space. Our law of physics happens this way. We're a complete anomaly of existence and you just keep coming back. We're somehow kind of a consciousness formed. It's so deep, man. I don't know, but it just makes you wonder. I think massive cooperation will be needed, and I think we'll get there.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, that's why, because I investigated a long time ago, and and it got insane. Well, not really. Literally, but it's just because I was doing like residential investigations. I was, and stuff like that, and it just got chaotic with me, and so I just kind of just took a break from it and just said, like, how about if I just do the podcast where, and to me, because like you just said, it can get chaotic, and it's very chaotic. Because you got these people here, these people here, these people here, and everybody's got their way of doing things, way of saying things, way of this, way of that, and everybody's got their opinions. We're all allowed to think the way we want to think, and so that's kind of like why I came up with a podcast. Kind of like, step aside from the investigation, step aside, and then just reach out to different people, and hear everybody out, hear everybody's, and kind of stay unbiased, where, because sometimes, I'm more of a skeptic. I'll admit it, but it doesn't mean I'm open to a belief or I'm open to a situation. Excuse me. And so, yeah, I'm with you on it. So that's why I love starting the podcast, just so I can just have awesome conversations, and just hear everybody out, and stay,
I think,
that on both sides of the spectrum.
I think I really like what you said. I wish the community had more of your mindset.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really
staying and just listening, because it's very rare. What you said, I feel out there. I don't feel a lot of people follow that code, and they should, on something we really don't know what's happening to. Right?
Exactly.
But it's intriguing how it holds on. Right. Yeah. And just listening to your ideas, I like to look at it. We should look at it like assimilation, right? Take knowledge from each other and just keep collecting it. You don't have to be angry at someone and argue, because a lot of that happens. But even listening to you as well, like just the assimilation of just listening in and taking it in. And I think, we can all become experts, because as of right now, what TV calls a paranormal expert is not even, that's a joke.
No.
assimilate knowledge from as many
Nowhere
other
close.
investigators as possible, right?
Right.
As many as possible, and that it's becoming this larger consciousness of just all these theories put together.
Right.
So you can just it's like a laptop in the back of your head. It's a consciousness of we're all thinking these ideas. Let's keep running it, because at the end of the day, it's not who's right, who's wrong. It's about solving the puzzle. That's what it's about, solving the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's like, that's why in one of my podcasts, I had Tim Shaw on, and psychic medium and collector of haunted objects. And then there's people out there that don't believe in that stuff, which is fine. I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion and you can be skeptic about it. But but having him on, just talking about it, just listening to him, man, I tell you what, he's the most awesome dude to talk to. And telling his stories on his objects, telling his stories and stuff like that. And I mean, it was just awesome just to hear him out, just to listen to him. I mean, because I'm not one to call anybody a liar. I'm not one to call anybody, well, just because I believe this, doesn't mean it, you can't believe that, or you can't think that way. That's, how dare you,
Right.
So that's why, I like hearing people
I've
out.
I've worked with Tim Shaw. He's we shot an investigation together in the Dunkirk Lighthouse in Dunkirk, New York. And I will tell you, Tim
he's
Shaw,
a New York guy.
I hope you're I hope that you find this interview well. It will age well, Tim Shaw. Tim Shaw is a very knowledgeable man. He's a good man. Dude.
He's a good dude, man. He's
one of those people you can just listen to him talk for hours. He's very he can make anything entertaining. Any subject entertaining to listen to, and he's very knowledgeable.
He was my second episode, so it was kind of like, I'm new to this. I'm nervous. I was like, holy shit, I really hope I don't screw this up. I mean, because I really haven't had any conversations with him before, but Sarah has. Sarah, like said, hey, Tim wants to come on, I'm like, oh, great, so here I'm going, man. I don't want to screw this up. But man, I tell you what, once he got going, holy shit, man, that was, I mean, it just happened. It was just like just talking to him alone. It was just, it was just, he's just a good dude, man. I mean, just a downright good guy. And like you just said, man, just to talk to him. Yeah.
Yep. And he's a great example of, like, if we had more in the community that just were like that, Tim doesn't judge. Guys, when we met, our two worlds collided. We had different philosophies of like approaches and stuff like that.
Right.
I learned a lot from him, just rubbing it off. Yeah. And dude, we had great conversations. Just go down the rabbit hole. No one's right, no one's wrong, but like, let me learn from you and maybe you can learn from me, and that's exactly what it's like working with Tim Shaw. That's exactly what it's like.
Right. I mean, yeah, I kid you not, man. Once he came on, and I mean, it was just like, I bet that conversation, because I bet that conversation could have went for hours and hours and hours.
Oh,
man,
easily.
I'm telling you, it was
easily.
It was, and I told him, and he was like, man, if you ever want, I was like, dude, you ever want to come back on, man, just give me a call. I was like, dude, we can do this once a week. I was like, we can do this once a week. I don't care. I was like, I was like, anytime, man.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's good. He does another podcast. He does was it Black Cat Lounge?
Black Cat Lounge, yeah, correct.
I've tuned in a few times to listen to him, and I'll tell you what, he's got it, man. He's got it. And it's interesting because, he was one of the first people to really introduce like elementals.
Yes.
It's been a few years, but like, he was talking about the hauntings of the land and stuff like that. And, he was feeling out the lighthouse. I remember in the investigation, he was talking about where he thinks the haunting centered from. It was like the basement, I believe, and working its way up. It was just interesting to watch even how he works with energy. Rebecca Kirschbaum, who films with us, Resident Undead, does a lot of energy work as well. And she was so impressed. She's like, she walked down. She's like, Tim's good. Tim's real. And because the first time we met, and yeah, dude, it was a great time. It was great. Yeah. And again, we need more like that in the paranormal. It's not that we don't. We already have a lot of individuals out there that are great, but we're still getting to that higher health bar of like awesomeness.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, and that's what I even told Tim. I was like, to me, that's why I loved starting this podcast, and I even told him, I was like, dude, you're like episode number 2, and that's it. And he goes, he was like, dude, I'm like so honored, man. And I was like, hey, man, I needed people in here to help me out. I was like, I'm not going to lie to you, And but I told him, I was like, I said, I want to use this, kind of use conversations and just reach out to anybody. And I already, I've had a UFO researcher on. I've had, different like ghost hunting, just ghost hunting people and stuff like that. And I mean, just like I said, just hear them out, just hear what they got going on. Here, if they, like, for example, I just had Matt Warner on it. He just started like a historic preservation society out in
yes, he did up there in Boston, the Boston area.
Yeah. And I mean, I told him, I was like, dude, that's why I do this. I mean, just let's other people hear what you got going on and stuff like that, because there's people out there that might listen, might not, I don't know, and just let me help you get the word out. Let me help you, just let me hear what you got to say, then let other people hear what you got to say. I don't care what I believe in, because I feel like this podcast ain't for me. I want to do this for everybody. I want to do this to keep myself very unbiased, and just stay and look at every side of the spectrum, and stuff like that. That's why I want to do what I want to do.
What, maybe I can flip this around. And I don't know if hosts get asked this much, but like, what got you into the paranormal? How long have you been doing this? I mean, what sparked your interest?
Oh, that's a hell of a question. That's a damn good question. I've always been infatuated with like horror films, and like ever since I was a kid, like I just loved horror films. I loved just anything that was scary. Then my grandmother, when I was a teenager, told me a ghost story that she witnessed personally, her and my grandfather. But it was like, she didn't believe in ghosts, but she told me what happened. And I'm like going, what was it? I don't know. Was it a ghost? No.
Interesting.
But I mean, because she was like, how most of my family like doesn't believe in the paranormal whatsoever. And I mean, when I say paranormal, I mean like ghost. I mean, because my dad don't believe in ghosts, but he believes in UFOs. Like I do. And but I'm open to all of it. And so it's like my grandmother. I mean, she was raised in a Christian type environment to where when you die, you just go to heaven and hell. That's it.
Right.
There's no such thing as ghosts. There's no such thing as places being haunted. There's no such thing. All of that is just trash talk. All of that is just, bullshit. So it's kind of like, as I got older, I never really paid attention to anything. And then just one day I thought, like everybody else, you think, oh my God, did you hear that? Did you see that? Did you, whatever. So ever since then, it's almost like I didn't mind staying a skeptic, but like, what the hell was it? You know? And it's almost like I just want to say, can I still stay a skeptic and look at things in a scientific type way to maybe debunk this, debunk this, debunk this? But sometimes it's hard to explain something that no one else witnessed, only but you, you know? So ever since then, I kind of like, I had other friends kind of interested as well, you know, and so I kind of got on this paranormal team that was working out because, again, chaos. Other people getting into it because of the wrong reasons. You know, they just like, they want on TV, they want attention. I wasn't about that. So yeah, so I kind of, you know, just kind of got into it, then I got on a team that started doing like residentials and stuff like that. And that alone, I enjoyed doing, but it just got chaotic. And, but yeah, I mean, but I started doing it ever since then, about, I'd say 2008, maybe. And then, you know, the pandemic hit and we kind of just went in limbo. And so all of a sudden I was like, you know, I'm not doing nothing with anything. I was like, why not do a podcast? You know, why can't I still stay here? You know, even though maybe we can't get out, but I'm still able to maybe talk to other people. You know, let's see what they got going on, you know. That's pretty much my story.
I like asking people. I like asking people that question because it reminds me of The Walking Dead. When you find other survivors, you got those few questions. We got 3 questions for you, and it's intriguing to me in the paranormal, like how we all ended up here. Out of all the things we could do, we decided to put a lot of our time and energy into this. Right. And I'm always super fascinated with how we all arrived here. You know, because I can see a lot of the passion in people's eyes, not only just the wanting to it to be real and confirmed, but the drive to prove that. Like you know it's there. It's like I don't know, an example, like seeing electricity in the sky for one time, and you're like, a lightning bolt comes down. I want to recreate that. You know, I want to recreate that. How can I do it? But I've seen it. But everyone's like, no, you didn't. You didn't see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of drive I see for people. It's beautiful. It's interesting because it's funny. All of our origin stories they're all similar, but then as they very similar beginning, and they all diverge from there, and that just is so intriguing to me. And I love it. I love listening to that stuff.
I mean, even like UFOs. I mean, which I've been intrigued with UFOs ever since I was little. And when I was 20, I'm 48 now. I was probably 27, 26, 27, and I actually saw two UFOs together. And I watched this for about 15 minutes, if I had to guess. And it's the only time I ever witnessed it. And ever since then, I've had people like, oh, it was just a helicopter. Oh, it was just this. No, I know what I saw. So ever since
aliens are very intriguing to me.
Oh yeah.
Alien. You know, I grew up watching Star Trek, you know, Star Wars, stuff like that. So I was always intrigued. Trust me, I'm not even going to hide it. I am a total nerd when it comes to that stuff. And I wanted to believe it could be real. I remember asking my dad when I was really young. I was like maybe 7 or 8. I just remember he was in his garage working, and I walked out there, and I must have been really young, because I remember we used to get the VHS tests, the original series, like every week. They'd send you a new episode. I'd be like waiting for this episode for the mail to be delivered. And I remember one day I picked up the mail, and I remember asking him, you know, do you think starships be real by the time I'm your age. And he goes, you know what? It's very possible with the way things advance. You know, I think it's very possible. We have a world shut down, and we got people eating Tide Pods. So unfortunately, it did not work out according to plan.
Right.
But if my son asked me, will we have starships when he's my age? I would like to say that we'll get our son.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, even the thing with ghosts and stuff like that.
But
yeah. So I mean, I've always been open to all, kind of like.
mm-hmm.
So that's always. I mean,
well,
a lot of stuff.
You know. We were talking. I've talked to many people, investigators. You know, we had that rabbit hole chat in the back porch of Madison at Fairfield. Nick Groff, when he came out to film Death Walker at Madison, you know, we're over here talking about all these theories about like, you know, like, is it possible that we're dealing with aliens, like an interdimensional species that is it's always been here. But now that we have the technology to like very, very low key detect them, is it changing now? That's why we're seeing it across the country, across the globe of paranormal phenomena. It's just, it's a fourth dimensional species that's literally spying on us. You know, these possibilities, are they time travelers? Is it easier because they know ghost hunters are looking in haunted buildings that we're going to misidentify them as a ghost, but they're actually just studying humans? Or maybe that's, you know, they're using these haunted places as command centers because they can't chill at like I don't know, a Sam's Club, you know, but hey, there's this abandoned building over here. I mean, there's, you know, there's a lot of crazy things to it. It makes me wonder, like, even with UFOs, is it possible we're seeing future human technology? Is it, you know, is it future to human technology that they're coming back and maybe the government knows about it?
Right.
Maybe it is our own government. We have figured out how to make anti-gravitational force. You know, Einstein and even Tesla, and I got to say that 369, damn, you're fine, or at equal every time I say that combination. But he he said once you understand the abilities of 3, 6, and 9, you will understand the and Einstein was talking about frequency. You can unlock with frequency and vibration, you can do a lot of things.
Right.
I know I'm gonna use frequency or vibration to move objects. It makes me wonder sometimes, since we can't duplicate the pyramids today, astronomical amount of energy and money to do it. I don't even know if we could do it. So if 7,000 years ago they had this, is it possible we lost an ancient technology that dealt with vibration of levitation? Because if you're moving stuff at a certain frequency and vibration, can you move large objects? Can you move, like you're vibrating it in a certain way that you literally can walk up to and push it and it'll glide in the air? If that's the case, that may solve the riddle of why you know, when you look at the pyramids, the blocks, it's almost like the blocks are melted together perfectly. Like you can't even slide a piece of paper through the crack. And it's like, you know, even just the precision, if you're building that pyramid, you've got to go down to a quarry that's like 15 miles down, which means somebody at the pyramid is like, hey, yo, we got a 2-ton block that has to be this dimension by this dimension. Oh, by the way, gateway. And then, holy shit, you have to build a slope. I believe it's 10 degrees. I think 10 degrees, or is it? Yeah, I think it's a 10-degree slope. You cannot exceed a 10-degree slope going all the way up to the part of the pyramid you get, right?
Right.
And every time let's say, how long is that going to have to be? Because if you exceed even to 11 degrees or 12 degrees, you're not going to be able to move that weight,
Right.
But then, okay, our old history books just show a bunch of pulled me in first grade. All right. But, looking back now, no, okay, it's kind of bullshit. I think there's more to it.
Right.
But here's the other thing: the universe is so big. It makes me wonder. It's because he loves the space talk and all that, and I was like, one of the biggest mistakes we did was, I think, back in the 80s or 70s, when we sent out that probe that had all the information with us on it. It was like this disc of peace. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if it was the Galileo probe or whatever.
Yes, I believe you are correct.
Is it Galileo? Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Well, here's the problem. I told him. I said, dude, if aliens have the ability to get to us from anywhere in the universe, they're either bending space and time, which is like, the shortest point between an object is a straight line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember in this one movie explained it perfectly. If you take a point on a piece of paper and another point, and you fold the piece of paper and you shove the pencil through the paper, you've ripped the fabric of space and time to where you can instantaneously get from wherever to wherever, right?
Right.
Here's the problem. I said to Atticus, I said, if you look at human nature, and let's assume that all consciousness at some point, you either overcome that conquering aspect of your culture or you don't. But if you look in human history, anytime two cultures clash with one another, it doesn't usually end with coexisting, right?
Right.
And I said, if we sent that probe out there and the wrong aliens found it, we basically just gave them our home address.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that say, oh, it's going to be like a sci-fi movie, we're going to fight the aliens and win. Dude, the minute they show up, we better send our best negotiator to talk, and don't you lift a single weapon, because I assure you, and I'm not a coward, I assure you that, but I'm not also an idiot. They will, the amount of power they have, just stand down, because their ability to travel through space is phenomenal, but I assure you their weapons are even meaner. So,
well, it's almost like, I think what I had Dave Rosenfeld, and he was the UFO researcher based out of Salt Lake City. And me and him was talking. I said, I am a firm believer. It's like during World War II, when we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that was almost like the big, hey, hello, we're here. It's like almost like I think, like, my theory, it's like almost in a sin. It's like,
I don't know, you're,
like,
hey,
guess what? You just saw us.
You're right. Yes, you're right. I remember seeing some stuff on this, that when we were testing nuclear weapons, atomic weapons, we've had a lot of weird UFO activity in that general area. Like, we're being watched. It's almost like Star Trek, the Prime Directive. Again, for the fans, I'm sorry if we're out aging ourselves and we got young baby boppers, but just watch some Star Trek or Google Prime Directive. Prime Directive is very interesting. Again, Star Trek nerd here. The Prime Directive is that the Federation could not interact with a species or a new culture that did not establish warp speed. They weren't able to break the speed of light, right? Here's another thing to this. Maybe aliens didn't want to involve themselves with us, right?
Yeah.
Until we put it out there that we are an advanced enough civilization that we can split atoms. Now it's like, hey, let's watch these guys. Like, it's almost like tuning in. Will humanity use this power for good or evil? But here's the problem. I think, God, it's gonna get so deep that if we're talking about an infinite universe, and I don't know how to explain this correctly. I'm not the right guy for this, but if the universe is infinite, the reason, you can understand the Big Bang expands out. If that's true, and there's stars everywhere, and this goes on forever, then when we look up at the sky, there should be lights everywhere from stars, right? That
Yeah.
it should be. Because if it all boomed out from one, slowly expanded out, the night sky should be lit up with stars.
Right.
But since when we look out, there's only, still thousands upon thousands and millions up there, it shows that it's expanding out. My question is, where are the aliens? That I would think there would be more to conquer race. What if oh my God, you think about like the Borg from Star Trek? I'm sure if we can think about it in an infinite reality, there probably is a species out there that all the other races are just like, oh no, stay away from that one because they assimilate you, they take your cultures, everything. A lot of just in a back corner, backwoods of the universe. Sorry, I cut out there for a second. Are we just, in our backwoods, like no one's found us yet? But I do think you're onto something for sure with the atomic and nuclear explosions that we're getting their attention. Right. I'm pretty sure we're being watched by something.
It's even like one thing me and my dad was talking about, and I think me and Dave Rosenfeld talked about it on the podcast as well. It's almost like even almost every war or every time we've done any kind of like nuclear testing or in that kind of way, it's almost like here they come. And it's like he said, dude, we're being babysitted. He goes, they're going to make sure we're not going to kill each other. They will make sure we we do not destroy what we have. And I am a firm believer in that.
I am so with you, dude. I'm so with you on that because there's two theories to that I would fall into. That either life is so delicate in the universe, it's so delicate that these species know, like, we're not going to interfere. We're not going to let you beat each other up and destroy your planet, your sovereign planet, right? Because we know life's delicate, or they put us here. That our creators are alien. You've got the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki in their stone tablets are talking about like, hey, this is what happened. Right? The sky god, but they weren't fully human, right? So to get what you have as human, the slave race, as they call it, the Anunnaki were called the slave race to the us, the creation, to get gold for their planet because their planet, their atmosphere was down and they needed gold flakes. Right. So they made a mix between their own DNA and the ape hominoids that were already here on Earth. And when you mix that DNA, you got humans. And the problem, I think, with, we can't find the missing link. It seems like you can see all this lineage of apes evolving, and then all of a sudden man is here. Right. Okay. Well, from a religious point of view, you can say, wow, God created Adam and Eve, and now they're here. Or it skipped a step because the missing element is alien. And that one missing piece we're not going to find on this planet because they're gone.
Yeah.
So I would subscribe to, it's possible we were put here. If I was a civilized race, I mean, super civilized and spacebound, I assure you I would have a project where we would try to seed the cosmos just out of like a safety net, but perhaps the ones that made us weren't the nice aliens because, the Anunnaki, they called us the slave race. But thank you if you made us. Great. But I would imagine there would have to be another race out there that's just like, let's colonize. Why not? Let's go to the farthest ends of the universe. And if we can find a habitable planet within the Goldilocks zone, let's do it. We can't be there to monitor them because they're too far away, but we'll come back from time to time. And perhaps space and time is different to them. Maybe, we've been here for how many, millions of years of evolution on the planet. And how long has man been here evolving over 500,000 years, whatever, give the number. I'm not quoting it, but like perhaps to them, only a few years have gone by and they're able to watch a lot because time moves differently. There's I mean, so many things in the rabbit hole we could talk about.
Even with me though, I've been a machinist for 26 years and I've worked in 3 different aerospace companies. And that's one thing also me and Dave talked about. I said, if you really sit back and look at it, like, let's say during the time of Roswell, let's say 49, around the 50s. Look at our aerospace technology from then to now.
Yep.
And it has not been that long ago. I mean, it has not been hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
And to any children that are going to listen to this, okay, down the line, I always tell kids, be open-minded and question everything, because let's do a little timeline here. Isn't it funny that at the turn of the century, we've got horse and buggy, and then 16 years later, 60 years later, you're going to tell me not only did we figure out how to leave our atmosphere and defy all of this and get through the Drake Belt or something. We were able to live feed that shit from the moon and all of this stuff. Okay, I'm not trying to be a huge conspiracy theorist here, but like, we just recently got the consumer grade technology in the last decade to do any kind of live stuff. But you're telling me that you could with a 10-second delay transfer from the moon with no problems? If you ask me, and this comes into politics,
right.
JFK made a very tall order. You've got the Russians that put Sputnik into space, and it's a simple did that. But now the United States, our president, which JFK, I think he's an amazing president. I think he just gave one tall order. He said, "We will put a man on the moon." Like, oh shit, his PR had to put the head down, be like, "Mr. President, our space program is like nowhere near the Russians' program."
Right.
So this is maybe where the scheme comes into play. They're like, hey, let's talk to Hollywood. Let's talk to Hollywood and let's see if we can sell this. But here's the thing though. I talked to my son about this. We get deep, or we're playing Minecraft. We talk about this, Cleary. How did they be the world's biggest secret? If, how did you get everyone in it at, Houston in the center that's doing it? And he asked me that. And I said, you're exactly right. I said, the only people that seem to have issues are the actual like Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong.
Right.
Whenever they were interviewed, they wouldn't put their hand on a Bible and say they were on the moon. They're always trying to fight. They're like, don't question it.
Right.
And then as they get older, they start saying weird stuff like, well, the truth is we never really went. Here's the only theory I can think. If the moon landing was faked and this is an illusion, is that a shuttle really did it, got calculation of what's going on. So it's possible that you see a shuttle being shot up, but somehow there is another live feed on Earth that's being broadcast as you think it's being seen, right? This is the most common conspiracy you hear about. I just think for the day and age, that's very peculiar. I don't think it's possible. I really, it's just not possible. But getting back to your Roswell statement, I remember seeing a report or something that they found some stuff on this thing that came out of the sky. This cigar-shaped object, or I think it was something before that. There was actually nearby in one of the other Texas towns. Remember the cigar shape? They saw that. Roswell was shortly after that. This thing comes down inside this craft of what's alleged, like said, there were 3 aliens. They had some kind of fabric woven over them very tightly. It was very hard to get it off of them, but it seemed to be like skin tight to them, and guns couldn't penetrate it. This fabric was taken by the US government, given to a company, I can't remember the exact company, and said, can you reverse engineer this? What that would turn into Kevlar. Another thing was in the shuttle, they saw windows or what looked like glass, but when they looked out of it at nighttime, they could see inside, they could see outside perfectly. They somehow ripped this apart, took it to one other company in the United States and said, can you reverse engineer this? We don't know what it is. You don't need to ask questions. Can you reverse engineer this? That would become night vision technology. There were lights, wired lights, all lit up in this craft. When they took these wires apart and they gave it to like IBM or some company, they said, can you recreate this? That would eventually become fiber optic communication. Then you have like microchips they found in there. They take that to IBM. I agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of this is reverse engineering, because it's not that I don't want to think man can't advance.
Right.
But I think what's happening is we may have had a little outside assistance.
I just don't think we could have did it that fast.
I think we got alien technology and we reversed it. Exactly.
I just don't think
exactly. I agree. There. I mean, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. It's just, again, I want to give us the pat on the back that we could do it, but like seriously, 1900, even 1901 to what, 1964? Come on, 63 years. No, that's not enough time to advance into space. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like when I had Dave on the podcast, that's the one thing me and him talked about. And I mean, he was like, and it was just, and I've had that, like, for example, okay, because I worked at Rolls-Royce in Indianapolis. And that was the last aerospace company I worked for. And I said, we got this museum. And it shows, you know, like, kind of like how this aircraft engine looks, you know, back after, you know, Ted, after, you know, the Wright brothers and all that. And then everything that we've created through time. And I go, you just start looking at it and you're like going, that was just, if you honestly think about it, it wasn't that long ago. You know, I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
It was, but it wasn't. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, how do you go from that to this fast? You know, like it's just phenomenal. You know, it's just like what the, you know, and it's like a lot of people don't think about it, but it's like if you really stop and look at it, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's why I love that saying, question everything. Man, something I know just doesn't feel right in my core. When I look at that stuff too, it just doesn't, it's like, if you and I, you know, were disconnected from the outside world, like if we saw electricity for the first time, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
How would we even think this world had such an ability or a power?
Right.
You know, like just discovering these things, it takes so much time. Even like, think about the first person who found fire. Like, okay, you see lightning strike out of the sky and it creates a fire. And ancient man sees that and it's like, oh, what is that? You go up to it, you touch it, you get hurt. So you know whatever it is hurts you.
Right.
When that fire goes out, you don't know how to recreate it. You don't know that if, you know, you would have to like, you know, rub sticks together very quickly. It takes such an advanced mind to duplicate something that you saw come out of the sky and be like, oh, I'll make this here. And to get that knowledge to spread across the globe of how to make fires, how to make language alone. How is it that you and I can communicate with one another, understanding that certain sounds we make from our vocal cords mean something symbolically, or we understand that. And I'm just going from the base of human civilization. Like, yes, we can move pretty quickly, but I'm just so impressed when you read these history books. It's almost like it's polished up, you know, and I don't know. I think, you know, again, it's not that I'm against conspiracy at all. I'm not. I subscribe to some of this stuff because I know the world's not the way we think it is. I know it's not. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, there's some conspiracies heard out there that I'm like, I would not be surprised as shit if that's real. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like even like when we were talking about the timing on, you know, I think when George Knapp broke the story with Bob Lazar, the engineer that worked at Area 51. Lazar. The engineer that worked at Area 51.
Yep.
When he was, if I'm thinking correctly, he was at some sort of convention. Somebody asked him that had to do, you know, with something. I can't remember. I honestly don't remember. It's been a while back. And they asked him, how long do you think it would take us to duplicate what you saw? And he says, it would take us 100 years. Easy. And he goes, it would take us forever. If we had to stop and do it from scratch, he goes, what they wanted me to reverse engineer, he goes, it would take us forever. He goes, it would take us over 100 years without a problem, you know.
And I've heard his story.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting about his story versus a lot of other people's stories? It's always consistent. You know, mostly, you know, when you find these people that are lying, their story changes a little bit and things. But Bob Lazar, pretty much every time I see any interview with him, I'll tell you what, man, it's the same thing over and over and over.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, you know, that's the best amount of credibility we can get. But I do remember him saying, and that's why sometimes I wonder with, you know, with this tech, the stuff we're seeing now, are the aliens actually coming back, or is it our own government with that kind of technology flying up there, you know? But it's great because I'll tell you what, if I was within the government and I'm dealing with our national security, I'll tell you what, I will let it leak. Let our enemies think we have alien technology. Create a place on Earth or in the United States called Area 51 that becomes this huge phenomena globally, that the Americans have this facility that no one can go into. And it could be even a dumb site, like a dummy site where there's nothing there, but to fool our enemies, you know, that's one great scare tactic. But at the same time, I do think it's possible we actually have obtained something, you know, and we are using it. So, yeah.
That's like even like
I guess my biggest question to that would be, you know, and I guess my biggest question is like, let's say we just came across a craft like Roswell, right? They joke about that. They have that one craft from Roswell, and then Brent Spiner's character, he's the scientist, is like, man, it's really cool. When that mothership showed up, this thing turned on. I'd be alarmed first. I'd be like, oh no, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Right.
But secondly, what if that was the scout? You know, what if whatever's crashed there was a scout? It's very intriguing to me that it was able to crash, for one, you know, even get this far. Like, where did this thing come from? Maybe it didn't come that far. Maybe it came from what is it, Andromeda? There's the Andromeda. No, that's not the universe. It's I didn't think we'd get into this cool stuff tonight. I'm trying to remember all my stars.
I didn't either. So
it's a constellation. Alpha Centauri, is it Alpha Centauri? Alpha Centauri, like they believe that from that constellation, that what is it, solar system, that life may have originated from there. Like, one of the theories I've heard. Is it possible that that was a ship that was slowly sent here, you know, from there, and we're just getting this mixed story of what's on there? Like, they, you know, it's a great pop culture to say the aliens look like this, you know. Maybe it was something completely different. Maybe there really was that tech on there, but I do agree with you. Something happened. But yeah, dude, wild.
If I'm thinking, since you just mentioned it, Betty and Barney Hill, when they got abducted, when they went under the hypnosis, wasn't the Alpha Centauri?
I remember this. Yes.
Wasn't it Alpha Centauri?
Yes.
What she drew out when she was under hypnosis?
Yes. And I remember, like, where the heck did I remember Alpha Centauri? I remember there was a case where it was either in a freaking cave in France, like, and it got leaked. They were like, dude, like, freaking ancient man was drawing the constellation. I think you're right, dude. I think when they went under hypnosis, they drew that. The lady, it was the woman. You know their names. I remember this case. It was a man and woman, husband and wife. They were abducted, the missing time and everything. And during under hypnosis, they drew that concept. But, you know, I mean, it gets so deep because I was talking to Atticus about this, my son, saying that, you know, like, if we did come from another planet, let's do an analysis of, like, maybe we came from another planet because the planet we originally came from was dying, right? We get on a ship, and well, let's go backwards. We're actually driving. We had this conversation. I said, my dad's a mechanic, great mechanic, one of the best mechanics ever educated. But I said to Atticus, I said, okay, you, Grandpa, and I are in this car. and we have to go, like as of right now, we leave and we drive this car into the Amazon. We're like weird road to get into the Amazon, and we go deep into the Amazon. But I said, Atticus, the minute we get into the middle of the Amazon, we run out of fuel. All right.
Right.
Now we're in the middle of the Amazon. Grandpa is the best mechanic ever. Well, what can he do for us? He can't get us fuel. Okay. But let's say there's just a little bit of fuel left. It's only a matter of time before that car dies. And let's say even if we did have more fuel, there's no mechanic shops there. He doesn't have a lot of his tools. Eventually that car is going to die. Okay. Now this gets into the bigger theory. We're going to get stuck in the Amazon with a van, and we're going to have to live there now. If we were another spacebound race and we went to Earth, came to Earth, oh God, dude, like 500,000 years ago, 400,000 years ago, our ship landed here, and it's kind of like what Elon, right? But we won't be able to get you probably in your lifetime, right? Remember what I just said there, because that's going to play a factor. But like we go there, ancient man is there 400,000 years ago. Their ship by this point now is long deteriorated. They have no communication with the other planet because they were just there to colonize Earth. And eventually, as generations pass, they're going to forget their origins. They're going to forget they came from the stars.
Right.
What's interesting about Mars, and I'm not sure if it seems interesting, like there was a nuclear blast on Mars. And it's in the soil samples. Like something's weird about, like something you would find in a nuclear explosions in the soil of Mars. Is it far-fetched that it is possible in very, very ancient times that we actually came from Mars, and maybe it wasn't ready, but we had to evacuate Mars because we had a nuclear disaster. Right. And when that ship crashed on Earth, whoever did get over there, oh crap, we made it, we're alive. The terraforming is almost complete of Earth, but we have nothing established here. And then, that's how culture would seed. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, but you get what I'm saying? Like, I think I understand like why it would be very hard to colonize and what's happening. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know, deep stuff, man.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I kind of got that way when it came to like investigating, like and doing research with ghost phenomena and stuff like that. I kind of went down that rabbit hole pretty easy. Mm-hmm. And I kind of got the same way. And it's like, because I'm the type of guy, once my brain starts like going and fast forward, it's like, well, could it be this? Could it be that? Well, what if I'm just, maybe I'm just lack of sleep. Maybe I'm just not sleeping enough. Maybe I'm just stressed out. Maybe I'm just, and then I started going those directions. So it's kind of like, and that's why I didn't mind doing residential investigations. It was kind of like, it's really weird, man, because it went both ways. It went one way because you had people, because I was on a team that was a part of TAPS. Okay, and that got nuts. No offense, and I don't mean nothing bad against TAPS. I'm not saying nothing negative about being part of TAPS. I am not saying nothing bad about it, because it was awesome to say you were part of TAPS. It was pretty cool, but I'm going to admit it. But most of the case requests you got from that, those were insane. That got like, there's people out there really like this. And it's almost like, which I kind of got it, because it was almost like they thought they were writing Jay and Grant,
Right.
They thought they were writing those guys. And you saw the most insane stuff in an email, and you're like going, like, how do people think of this shit?
Right.
And but then again, like on the other part of the spectrum, like when you're just meeting different people, and they thought, deep down their places were haunted. And again, things could go one way and things could go another. A lot of people were out there, like wanting to say, just tell me my place is not haunted. Tell me I don't have a ghost. And then you could say, it's like, well, in my investigation, I don't have proof. I don't have anything to show your house is haunted. I don't have anything for you. I don't like everything that I went through, everything, most of it. Maybe it's this. It could be this, and then you had people out there like going,
I think,
what do you mean my house ain't haunted? What do you call me a liar?
Right.
Like, you asshole.
Right.
And I had to deal with that for a long time. And I was, it's like, okay.
I think there's two people, and I'll shoot it real. I think when it comes to residential, like what's happening is you're probably gonna do. They're just like, maybe our house is haunted. Let's get this team to come out and do it. I think that's gonna happen. There are the ones like you described, the ones that are gonna say like, "What do you mean my house isn't haunted? I know what I saw."
Right.
I think it's when you mix television with tell the investigators that have been influenced by television.
Yep.
Because you know what my cue is, and I can say this right now.
Right.
How I can tell an investigator doesn't have a lot of research on the ground or runtime is if you listen in production, you have to speed it up really quick, right? Yeah. That's not how it works. When you do a successful EVP session, you may have to wait 2, 3, 4 minutes in. But when I watch some people, it'll be like, well, what's your name? What's your favorite food?
Right.
What color is the sky? And it's like, wait a second. You're giving them no time. First question may not get an answer until down the line to your 7th question because you're just rapid firing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So mixing television, I get it. Like, I don't know much about that whole TAPS organization. I know I dealt with Grant and them at Madison. Yeah. And
this was long,
I definitely do not agree with a lot of his theories. We sat down the back table, but
yeah, this was
wild stuff.
Yeah, this is a long time ago. And that's why, like now, like as of today, it's like it's easy for me because I've witnessed, like I was a part of this. I got to be a part of that. And that's why now, like doing this podcast, I can stay unbiased. I can stay, because I've been there. I've done this. I've been, I've already been down the road. So now I kind of feel like it's my time,
right?
Kind of to just sit back, and
right,
kind of like talking to you, talking to Tim, and it's like just and just hearing it out, just having good conversations and having to me that I'm enjoying this now. I really am. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I know we could chat for hours. I was radio shows can be tough. And I will tell you what I really enjoyed was, let's just get right into the wildness. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. You just go down this rabbit hole. I love this kind of stuff. And I think the most interesting podcasts, like what you're doing here, is just spitfire, dude. Open fire, whatever idea. We went from ghosts to, all this stuff about theories on ghosts to freaking Roswell, dude, to Alpha Centauri.
I wasn't
back to ghosts, talking about residential cases, dude. Wow.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, it's like almost like I think I've been holding back on conversations with people. It's kind of like, so that's why, yeah, man. I mean, I'm open. I don't mind talking about it. I love. It's like you just said, man. Like it went from Roswell, it went from UFOs. It's like to me, it's like, well, hell yeah, move over, Joe Rogan. I'm on this now.
Yeah, buddy. Here's what I would tell you. If I can give you a word of advice, of any bit of advice for your college, because I was trying to keep up with you. Like, I'm pretty nerdy, man, with my stuff. But man, you got like a laptop in your back pocket. What you need to do to these guests is just start, dude, throw them down the rabbit hole, because man, when you start spitfiring back, I'm like, oh man.
Dude,
well,
I totally,
baby, you got that laptop in the back, because you are like,
dude, I'm like
you're just
so honored.
I mean,
dude, I am totally honored, man. I appreciate that. I really do. That's what I've been looking for.
Joke, man. The knowledge you're throwing down, and I'll say to anyone listening right now, like, I'll get it, man. You know your stuff. You absolutely know your stuff, and
I appreciate that, man.
That
I
makes
really
it
do.
very interesting. I mean, this went all around, man.
I appreciate that. I highly do, man.
So
I'm telling you, I highly appreciate that.
But
okay, man. Crap, man. I think we're almost out of time.
Well, I do have some stuff to wrap up here, but
okay, go ahead, dude.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
man, I'm sorry.
I would love to chat with you. I'd love to chat again sometime. We'll do this again, dude.
Oh,
and you know what?
Hell
We'll discuss a game, right? Let's discuss a game plan of like topics, and let's just kill it rapid fire. Because dude, I had a blast with you, man.
I'm all game. I'm telling you. Listen,
game.
This ain't the only time we can do this. I'm telling you, man. We'll hit me up, dude. You hit me up anytime. I'm telling you.
Awesome, man. Dude.
I'm telling you,
man.
Hit me up anytime. We'll do this again. No bullshit. I'm telling you. I had a blast. I had a blast.
I appreciate that. I do.
And thank you so much for coming, man. Thank you so much
man.
even doing this with me, man. You had a busy day.
Thank you for picking me.
Hey,
thank you. You got all-stars on the lineup. I feel honored. You decided to ask me. I'm like, you've had Tim Shaw, all these guys. I'm like, damn, all right.
Hey, no joke, man. You got a busy ass schedule, and I'm just so glad you came on, man. And thank you for that. I highly appreciate it. I really, I'm honored.
Absolutely.
Totally honored, man. And
same.
But I'm telling you, man, what I'll do for you, I'll get your links in the description box. So let's try to get the word out about, the sanatorium, in Madison. I'll definitely get the links down there for you. And man, let's get everybody out there, and again, anytime you want to come back on, dude.
Absolutely, dude.
Let's do this again. I had a blast.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not joking, man.
I will, man. I actually promise you I will.
Hey, anytime, buddy.
Okay, good deal, bud. Hey, you have a good rest of the night. I will definitely be catching you soon, man.
All right, man. I appreciate that. All right, man. Okay, well, let's
have a good one.
All right, you have a good night, man, and take care, buddy.
Yep. Later.
All right, see you, man.